We have another great panel today. I'm going to pass it over to my publisher, Emery Mavis, in a second, who's going to moderate today's panel. But first, I just have a few announcements. Just a reminder, as always, that Speaker View is going to be the best viewing experience for you, and that the chat, again, is open, and we'll be taking questions as we go along today. So please don't be shy. Any and all input is welcome. So today is going to be our last session for 2020. I wanted to just take a minute to say thanks to all of you who helped build this community and attended these sessions since March. We're very thankful to have you as an audience, and I'm very grateful to have been able to gotten to know so many great travel advisors over the past 8 months. We very much hope you join us again next year. We've already booked some advisors for the first few sessions of 2021, and we're looking forward to have a great 2021 and a great new year and turning the page. So please keep an eye out for more registration emails. And again, I just want to extend my sincere thanks to all those advisors who were gracious enough to let me interview them this year, and all the attendees who made these a very special part of my weekly schedule. For all those who have missed a session or want to catch up, they are hosted on our training page on TMR and through our YouTube page. And I'll drop the link to our YouTube page in the chat in just a second. And I just want to also remind everyone, if you ever want to reach out to me, my email is dmccarthy@travelmarketreport.com. You can also reach out to me on Facebook. Okay, so today I'm pleased to welcome a panel of travel advisors who are here to talk about how to use leadership and build this conversation around other issues as well. I'm also very happy to welcome TMR's publisher, Anne-Marie Mavis, who is joining us today to moderate this panel. So I'll let her take it away, and I hope to talk to you all again soon. Oh, Anne-Marie, you might be on mute. There you go.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Dan. And I just want to congratulate Dan while we have him on here. You've done a terrific job moderating all of these panels and really focusing on the advisor during this really difficult time. And I don't want any of our viewers to think that Dan's going anywhere. He'll be back with the next one in January. We were just giving him a little break. But I'm delighted with everything that you've done and with all the advisors. So thank you so much, and happy holidays, everyone. We're so excited that you're here, and we're really looking forward to this distinguished group of lovely ladies who are leaders in their own right. I've had the pleasure of having conversations with them and knowing some of them personally. And I think that you're going to hear a lot of information, get a lot of information from these ladies. So without further ado, let me introduce Jennifer Donchez, who is president of VIP Vacations in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Kirsten Little, who is vice president of Endavo Travel in Colorado, and they have their headquarters in Utah. Samara Mile, who is the owner of Amarillo Travel Network in Amarillo, Texas. And last but certainly not least, Robin Sanchez, who is the chief operating officer of Montecito Village Travel in Santa Barbara, California. So welcome, ladies, and thank you for being with us. Just to get us started, I'd like you each just to take, 30 seconds to tell a little bit about yourself and how long you've been in the industry. So Kirsten, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. I started in the industry 30 plus years ago. It was a summer job as I was going through college as an advisor, and really just worked my way up through the ranks, and have enjoyed every minute of it.
Okay, thank you. Robin?
Yes, like Kirsten, it's 30 plus years. I think it's 32 years now. And when I was in college, I followed a friend to travel school and wound up, loving the world of travel. And it's turned into a very nice career, and for myself and my family. So it's been a great journey.
And Samara?
Thank you so much for having me. I've been in the industry for 18 years and owned my agency for 16, and I have 11 independent contractors that work for me. And I'm really blessed to do what I do despite the hardships of 2020. Feel very blessed still.
Thank you. And Jennifer?
Hi, I'm not quite 30 years, but almost 30 years. And I was actually a marketing major in school and took a job like Kirsten, in college and have not left since I did start off in corporate travel, but now as president of VIP Vacations, I have a retail storefront operation and I have 10 full-time employees.
So we have well, with myself included, over 150 years experience here. So I know that there's going to be a lot of information that you'll learn from these distinguished leaders. So Jennifer, just to start with you, can you define, in 5 words or less, what you think leadership is? I know that's tough for you.
5 words is tough, but I would probably say a leader is somebody who works alongside their team to have them work and perform to the best of their ability and drives the operation. More than 5 words.
And Samara?
I think leadership is simply influence.
Interesting. Robin, and then Kirsten?
I think it's a team and listening to your team and having common goals and working towards those goals together.
Great. And Kirsten?
Yeah, I would say the same as the others. It's the objectives of the company and motivating people to work towards those common goals.
Well, I mean, that's a great segue. So today's session is obviously about leadership, and what we're trying to afford all of our viewers are some tips in leadership. And we're going to take some polls later, asking you, do you feel that you're a leader? So we want to find out from you what you're looking for in terms of leadership. And do you see a difference in managing versus leading? And I'm going to throw that to you, Jennifer.
Yeah, I think sometimes we start off, and myself personally, was a really good performer as a salesperson. And as you rise or as you build your company, you have more people around you, and we're always told, especially as women, to delegate. So you delegate, but there is a definite distinction between being a manager and being a leader. A manager I like to refer to as the mechanic. The mechanic of a car knows the inside and out of how to get a car running. And a manager can make sure it's performing the right way, but the manager is actually not the race car driver. The driver is the leader. And so a leader's job is to transform the people around them to become that stellar optimizer in their company. And so I think there's a different, managing is very different than having the vision to actually guide and lead.
Interesting. Samara, do you want to add to that?
I agree with what Jennifer said. I was an accidental leader. I did not come into the travel business thinking I would be a leader. I just wanted to sell travel, and the doors opened for me to start having a team. And so I had to develop leadership like you would a muscle, and had to really do a lot of work to, podcasts and different avenues I read a lot of books because I wanted to become a good leader, and I wasn't sure how to, and I didn't have the confidence to. But I don't want to be a boss, and I don't want to be a manager. I just want to be a leader, and above all, a servant leader, somebody who elevates others to a higher level and is there to cheer on my team.
Well said. And, the fact that you said that you wanted to learn how to be a leader, I think that, occurs with many of us. So I'd love to hear from Kirsten and Robin if you think that there are ways to learn, and did you have mentors in your career that helped you?
Who do you want to go first? I'll jump in and go. Absolutely, I had mentors, and it's things that they have taught me over the years stick with. And when I am looking for people for a team, I take those the guidance under into fact when I'm looking for people. And definitely, you want people who are like-minded, like we've already said, that are have similar goals and work ethics. And I think it's important that there's a trust factor when you have people working with you, and that I think one of the biggest things for me is that if somebody makes a mistake, they own it, myself included. I think that's really important, and that they that I'm approachable for my team if they need something from me. We never want to work under a fear factor. And that I learned from my mentors, definitely.
Great, thank you. And Kirsten?
Yeah, I would agree. Leadership is something that is very learned and developed. I think we've all kind of come up through a management role into our leadership positions that we're in now. And it's easy to be trained on tasks and processes and how to manage groups of people. But being a leader is something that definitely has to be developed. And it is, like Samara said, it's a lot of reading books, listening to different conferences, and there's a lot of resources out there for learning to be a leader. But it does take partnering with a mentor to really get, am I on the right track? Am I looking at this the right way? And just building some of that confidence as well.
Speaking about mentorship, I just want to let our viewers know that it's not a coincidence that we have 4 female leaders on this call. It was actually Jennifer that, told me about a very special group that was put together of female leaders, travel agency leaders, that came together as a conclave to talk about issues that they had in running their agencies and in leading. And I believe it's now called Allies in Travel. And Jennifer, I wonder if you can, and then anyone who would like to jump in, just talk about that a little bit, because I think the purpose of that group is really what this session is all about. And you had told me about certain characteristics and traits and fears and challenges. So let's talk about that, because I think our viewers all have some intimidation of leading and want to know how to do it better and who they can talk to.
Yeah, I was searching and craving for something beyond trainings on a product or how to sell or a destination or social media. I really wanted some, best practices for how to be a leader. And so prior to COVID, in early part of 2019, I reached out to a few women and I said, do you feel like there are some role models in our industry? Because I was listening to podcasts and I was, reading books, but I didn't really have somebody that I could reach out to even ask in our industry as a mentor in travel. There are some amazing leaders that are with resort brands or cruise lines or airlines, but I didn't really see that for me as a female. And what echoed was that other women felt the same way. And so we got together last summer of 2019, and it was magical, the way that we support each other and share with each other and comfort and give tips and tactics and strategies. And so I think what really exemplified this is during crisis, it's human nature to look to our leaders for advice, for encouragement, to help us get out of the deep, dark areas that we're in. And so COVID, I think, really put a magnifying glass on what we as the female leaders in travel were doing. So we had another event this fall and we had 40 women attend, but unlike the year before, this event was highly sought after. And again, I think that's because so many women, 84% of travel agents in North America are women. So it's natural that we want to try to get better and have some sort of encouragement, especially during the time of COVID.
Wow, that's so interesting. And Samara or Kirsten, well, let's start with Samara. Tell me about why you joined that group and what you got out of it.
Well, I was really honored when Jennifer reached out to me because I had known of Jennifer and admired her from afar, and she was someone that probably in some ways she was a mentor, and just the fact that I would watch her and knew a little bit about her. So when she approached me, of course, your first thought is, I don't know if I'm of the same caliber of these women that are being invited to this event, but I firmly believe you grow when you are around people you want to be like. And I wanted to be like many of the women that were invited. And I knew a few of them, and there was some I met for my first time there, but it really was something that I felt like I needed to challenge myself because I wanted to better myself and I wanted to grow in my leadership skills. I wanted to expand my circle. And I'm so blessed that I was able to attend and be a part of the group. And really, honestly, the group has helped me get through 2020.
Thank you. And Robin, you know, we spoke about this the other day, and I see so many men on this group chat as well on our session call, and of course Dan, who's our leader on the editorial side. I know that you as female leaders in this group that you also really look up to many men in the industry. So I believe that you had a male mentor in your life. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I did not know Jennifer when I was invited. A dear friend of mine, Sandy Anderson, invited me. And I was actually worried that it was going to be a male bashing event, which it absolutely was not. We all love men, all of us. And yes, my greatest mentor is the president and CEO of our company. He's really guided me through my journey from being a leisure agent, you know, all the way up the ranks into my current role. And, you know, some of the things that we've touched on a little bit today and that, you know, we shared together on Tuesday, you know, having that person has, and giving me the confidence and his belief in me that I could achieve, you know, greatness. You know, him and then my brother is my other mentor. So two, you know, males. And, you know, I think one thing that, you know, sometimes even though we've got, we have them in our corner, we do feel alienated. So being invited to the conclave and having this new foundation of people that have the same challenges every day, it's great that we can reach out to any of them. And we are so different and we're running different operations and companies for sure. So it's really great to have and to be able to reach out for input from this new mentor group to me. So thank you, Jennifer. You're visionary.
Well, it's interesting because I always liked to work for men. I have this thing called PMS, and it's not what you think it means. It stands for prefer male supervisor. And I felt that that was because women, you know, like you've heard all of the stereotypes. Women are catty, they're not very inclusive, they go into cliques, they gossip. And yet I saw all these inspiring, you know, like sayings about, you know, women coming together and forming, you know, alliances are unstoppable. And I just didn't understand why I didn't feel that way. And it goes back to that scarcity mentality. I think women are not generally as daring, and we're not boastful. You know, we've been taught humility and modesty. And so when, you know, there's times where somebody takes the lead, it tends to be a male person. And yet, if you are invited to sit at that table, you're usually one of the few. And so we've kind of come together and said, listen, we're getting rid of that scarcity mentality and we're inviting other women to sit at that table. Our hashtag is actually save her a seat. And I didn't know Kirsten, I didn't even know Samara. I didn't know Robin before. And, you know, this was a brainchild of myself and Sandy Anderson and Vanessa McGovern, because we clicked with each other and enjoyed the time together, but we really wanted to strengthen our leadership.
Excellent. And Kirsten, what did you get out of it? And, you know, the other day we talked about some of the characteristics and traits that sometimes hold women back. So if you can touch on those, that would be great.
Yeah, certainly. You know, I'd say I was very similar in expectation as Robin. I was a little apprehensive of this being a females group and coming in and being male bashing. I'm pleasantly surprised that the group was really, that was not what it was about at all. It was really us coming together to talk about our challenges, our insecurities, and really be able to be very raw with our emotions, for lack of a better word. we got down into some real vulnerabilities and what are the challenges that we have faced in running a company or being considered a leader. And it was really great. I got so much out of this group and talking with people, and even just hearing that others have been through the same experiences that I have, that their path may have been a little different from mine, but it was that, yeah, you know what? I know what I'm doing. This is all good. So reinforcing that I've been on the right track.
So reassurance and reinforcing is always important to everyone.
Yeah, and it was definitely an environment because there were no men in the room. We were able to let down some of those walls as women and really get in tune with our emotions, and had very different conversations than we would have if our male counterparts had been in the same room.
Interesting. So no sports were discussed?
No.
Just kidding. Samara, do you want to touch a little bit too on some of the traits? You know, I know that you've all talked about that sometimes even other females can hold back or intimidate female leaders. So what are some of the positive traits and the negative traits that you think that you've either gotten rid of or learned from?
Well, I think one of my strengths is positivity, and I really try to lead with a positive attitude and a heart of gratitude. And in my circle of influence, where I get to lead and be led, I always want to lead with those two things, positivity and gratitude. As a woman, the insecurities are real, but I would even say, even as a male, I'm sure that there is the intimidations, especially when you see somebody from afar and you think, oh, they have all their stuff together and I don't, and I'm not worthy to be a leader. And I dare say there's a lot of people on this meeting today that probably don't view themselves as a leader, and they should, because anytime you have the opportunity to have anyone walk with you through life, you get to be a leader with them. And so I hope a lot of people will be encouraged from this talk today to grow in this area. And even if you're not the owner of an agency or whatever, you get to lead those around you, whether it is a PTA that you're leading the PTA, or whether you are leading your family. I have 11 ICs, and I love when my girls step up and they lead in areas like when we are dealing with groups or crisis, or like when we had to come together and make a plan of how we were going to navigate 2020. So anyway, I hope that that answers your question, but I feel like a lot of us deal with a lot of insecurities. It's also a thing where you want to be humble and you don't want to, say, oh, I've got all my stuff together. So I want people to know that an authentic leader, I think, is really the most relatable leader.
Very well said. And, I'm looking at some of the comments and questions in the chat room. And first of all, everyone's congratulating each of you. And they love this idea of a leadership session. I know that some women want to know how to join the Allies in Travel. So we will send the chat room to Jennifer afterwards so that she can be in touch in regard to that, or you can comment on that later. But I'd like to get back a little bit to, the leadership and your comments about that. Well, first of all, some of you are managing very, very large agencies, and some independent contractors, and some smaller agencies. So are there opportunities for independent contractors who just have their own business? Can they also lead? Robin, you're managing a large agency. So what do you think about that?
Absolutely. And we are seeing more of that these days. We have, smaller entities that do have, one or two people that then have sub-agents under them, and they are becoming leaders, and they're becoming relevant. Just because there's not brick and mortar doesn't mean that you're not an agency. So yes, there's a lot of it happening. We're seeing a lot more of it as we're moving through COVID also.
So it doesn't matter whether you're a one-man band or a large group. You have
right.
to have
Right, you're running your own business and you're making decisions as a business, as a business entity. And so, yes, you're a leader. You're definitely a leader. And then you bring on, 1, 2, 3 agents, and you've got people under you that you're responsible for and that are looking for you for direction and guidance. And so you are a leader, and I think all of us on this panel came up that way. It wasn't that we went out saying we were going to be, executives or leaders. It was, something we just, grew into.
Which is a great point. I mean, are leaders born? Jennifer, do you want to take that? Do you think leaders are born or they're developed?
I think leadership is something that's developed. And I think it has a lot to do with your surroundings and how you're encouraged. I think the difference between really having, a male leader and we've tried to peel this onion back. What's the difference with a female leader and a male leader? And are there any really strong traits? I think for women, we take things so personally sometimes if we make a decision and we're not liked by the decision. And for men, it kind of rolls off a little easier. This is it. This is how it goes. That stereotype of the dad saying it's my way and we're going to do this. And, I think it's real important that leaders understand that they're the ones who are, being wide open for attack. They're the ones that are being judged and criticized if something falls flat on its face, whatever you decide to do. So it takes a lot of self-confidence in standing by something. And then like Robin said earlier, admitting if there was something wrong with the decision that you made and acknowledging that you're human. And when we came together, we left all of the accolades, the egos, the awards at the door. I mean, we had a program that showed the participants, and I can remember not knowing Kirsten and getting the Travel Weekly's Power 100 and scanning through, the first 10, top 10 and realizing no woman, no woman, no woman, no woman, no, oh, Kirsten, she's here. And it was amazing, but it was also striking to me in that big article that comes out every year, how few women there are there. So I think it's good for men to also see what kind of, things are holding women back. Why aren't they stepping up? Why aren't they reaching for that? So yes, this was a females leaders event, but I think it would be good for men to kind of have a part of understanding that as well.
Maybe we can start one for men as well, and then there can be a meeting of the two in the future. Kirsten, we talked the other day also about some of the terms that female leaders use that male leaders don't necessarily use, and some of the traits.
Sorry, what did you say? Yeah, sorry is one of those. It is one of the most overused words from most women. We tend to apologize for our either inaction, just because we walked into a room. It's one of those things that just rolls off of our tongue. And there's some other terms that we use as well. Some of a few of them that Jennifer had highlighted when we were at our conference. So, just, how many emails do you write on a daily basis that you start it with so, or I'm just following up? You don't get emails from men that either have the word so or just in them. And if we can eliminate those two words and then sorry from our vocabulary, it instills confidence. It carries more weight with the message if you just eliminate some of those words.
Those are some great specifics. Does anyone else want to add some specific wording or traits or skills you think that women leaders need to work on? Samara?
I do believe that, you sometimes have to practice your confidence, and knowing that if you've been set in a position to lead, that you're not going to be perfect, and you're going to fail, and that's actually okay, because that means you're being real. But being with my team, I've learned so much in the fact that I had to stop apologizing for things that really I didn't need to be apologizing for, and also that I needed to take a stand and have the courage to know that I was doing my best in that time and that I was developing my leadership, and that above all that my team knows that I care for them and that we are a safe place. So even if they think differently than I do, then I can take the constructive criticism, or we can have a conversation and I can grow and learn from them just as much.
Well said.
We talked about how to say no. Sometimes when we say no, we back it up because, and no is a sentence. And it doesn't, you don't have to be your parents because I said so, but you have to be firm with just no, and learn to not have to say yes to everything. Sometimes women, we burn ourselves in both ends, and then we're tired, and then we let our emotions take over because we don't understand that we're tired and we're reacting maybe just off of the cuff because we're tired. So, learning to delegate, learning to say no, getting rid of those minimizing words. And I think having that confidence are also some really good techniques to kind of be more assertive in your leadership.
Those are also some great specifics. Robin, do you want to add any?
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we touched on was self-confidence, and how to overcome being women, especially, tend to be our own worst enemies. And I think that's where a community helps build your self-confidence. And it doesn't have to be a big community; it can be one or two people that can help you overcome and look in the mirror and know your self-worth, and then carry that through to your team. I think, Samara, what you said, your team knows you're compassionate and you care. We all get, like Jennifer said, we all get tired. As women, we're nurturers and pleasers. So we say and commit, overcommit. A lot of us overcommit. So having, good people around you that you can, that can help you during those times, and know that if you're being grouchy or it's not a character trait of yours, it's due to the situation.
And Jennifer, to add to what Robin's saying, confidence of course is important, but you all must have gotten together for a reason. So there had to have been obstacles or challenges you were feeling. So can you talk about some of those obstacles and challenges you think female leaders in particular have?
Well, for myself, I am a go-getter. I try to always do my best and achieve. And I think a lot of women view that as a competitor, and we're not competing with each other. So I felt very isolated because, my company does well, we win awards, and yet I'd go to events and feel like I was, enemy number one because I was winning things. And, I can share and I can impart and I can help. And, it's getting past that just introduction and becoming open with other people. And you realize we are not competitors with each other. We want each other to grow. And the job of a leader is to really find those unique attributes in our own team and help them grow them and shine with those things and watch them become their own leaders. That's the job of a leader, is to transform those people to become other leaders. So we came together because I think fundamentally we've all sat back quietly for a while, and it's really great to have that support, that sisterhood. I've known so many women that have attended that have said it's life-changing for them. They lead differently. And I'm blessed that I now have a sisterhood. I now look forward to going to different events so I can see these ladies, and we're welcoming to everybody, so that if we see somebody who's not part of female leaders, we want to include them because we've all been through that as well.
Well said. Kirsten, do you want to add to that? And also in particular, again, because there are men here, and I just want to reiterate that I don't think that these ladies are saying that men are not great leaders. In fact, they said it over and over to me. and that they love men, as Robin said earlier. I think, though, that they want to be great leaders as well and empower other women to be great leaders. So that's the only differentiation here. We're still talking about leadership. But Kirsten, do you think that there is something that we can share with men who are bosses that maybe women need?
Absolutely. No one is saying that, power to the women. We make the best leaders. I think a lot of us have had very positive male role models and mentors as we have grown in our careers. My mentor is male, very much like Robin. It was, the president CEO of my agency who saw in me leadership traits and wanted to develop those and gave me opportunities to do that, where I would probably have not sought out this type of a role on my own. I tend to be in the back corner, quiet, no spotlight. It was very hard for me today to be talking with everybody. But I think the most important thing for men to realize as they're leading and developing women is that we do tend to be a little quieter, a little more reserved. We don't always like the spotlight on ourselves, but we do have a voice and we do want to be heard. And like for myself, I'm very introverted. So I am not the first person at the board table to blurt out anything. But if I've got time to process and I can come back with some great plans and great opportunities for advancement, for goal setting, but I need that time to process too. And part of being a leader is really just understanding the differences in your teams and the difference between those that are going to need more time to process and those that are going to be very vocal and right out in the front. So as men are leading, it's important to understand that both with men and women. But there's a lot that female leaders have to bring to the table right now. And I think a lot of it is understanding that women, traditionally have more of that nurturing. So coming through COVID, we've really been brought to the forefront because we are doing that empathy, the listening and nurturing of our advisors, of our teams, and understanding, and that comes more naturally to us. So if anything that men can take away is really to get in touch with those nurturing traits that they have and listen and explore that empathy with their teams.
Well, Kirsten, I, for one, will say you're doing a great job. You would never know that you're an introvert or that you don't like doing this. You're doing terrific. Samara, just to add to what Kirsten's saying, because I think that you've all mentioned this, and I just want to really point this out as somebody who leads as well, is that it took me such a long time to realize that everybody is not going to do things the way that you do them. And that finding the strength in an individual is what's going to make them grow and make your business grow. Obviously, it's got to be compatible with your business, their passions and their strengths, but finding that strength and then letting them own that really teaches you a lot. So it's something I would encourage everyone to do. And Samara, you're an owner of an agency. Jennifer said earlier that 87% of businesses, of travel agents are females, and that's true. A much lesser percentage own agencies. Why do you think that is, and what gave you the encouragement to buy your own agency or start it?
Well, again, I accidentally got into all of this. I was in college and did some traveling and then was able to start working for the travel agency that I now own. And I honestly didn't have any great aspirations. I just wanted to work in the environment of travel because I fell in love with it when I traveled in college and had this opportunity to work for this travel agency. And I didn't even really know what all that entailed. But less than 2 years into working at the agency owner had some really bad health issues and even financial issues, and she was going to close the agency. And she sat me and one other agent that were left in the agency down and said, if one of you wants to buy it, you can. Otherwise, by this date, we're going to close down. And so I accidentally bought an agency. I say, I wasn't married yet, and I did not know what I was doing, but I knew that I was passionate about being in this industry. So again, that's where I say I had to learn and develop myself, because I realized really quickly that if I was going to grow my team, that I needed to make sure that I had people around me that I could trust to shoot me straight. So I've been really blessed with some mentors, male and female. Probably the most impactful mentor has been a male, and my husband is another one of them, who he came to me and said, Samara, you need to read some books and you need to learn how to be a leader. Not because he was being critical, but because he saw something in me and he knew my confidence wasn't there. So yes, I did not realize at the time. I mean, I was so naive. It was, 2003 when I really got into the travel agency world. And that was after 9/11 had happened. So I knew nothing up until that point. And I'm really glad ignorance was bliss at that point, because maybe it would have scared me away. But I am so grateful to be in this industry now. And that's really my story in that.
Well, it's a good story. And, I think it's interesting that you point out it was after 9/11, because I think that this is also one of those times that's very difficult. So for those of you that might be listening to our leaders, if you're an IC or if you're working in an agency, it's okay to ask the owner, because sometimes there are people who are ready to retire, or people who want to sell their agency. So it's about taking risk. And Jennifer, you mentioned that earlier. So, understand that risk taking, yes, it can be scary, but it's usually a very positive outcome. And Jennifer, do you just want to talk about risk again a little bit?
Yeah, I think as well, if you look at agency owners, I think pre 9/11, a lot of women were the salespeople, and men were the business minded, the more analytical of the, their role in a business. And when a lot of stores closed after 9/11, well, what you were left with was a lot of women who could sell. And so I think you're slowly seeing more women like Samara, have their own business and create that and really understand the business behind the business as well. So that's one facet of it. But risk, we want to protect, we want to take care of. And so doing something risky is outside usually of our nature. But that's where I think learning the business and getting somebody to help you analyze the finances is so important, because I also worked from home for years, and I had my operation in my living room, and I had employees full-time. We were having walk-ins on a Sunday. So we needed to take that risk and buy a storefront. We actually bought a building, and that was scary, because now all of a sudden you have, another payment, and you have other utilities. And it was about being away from my children that, I was always home with after school. I think now, after the rubble is all, like the dust settles from COVID, there's going to be a new wave of, again, more women, more stores closing, more people trying to be creative with how they influence their consumers to show that they are business people, that they survived COVID. They are still here. We are still valuable. And that's where I think leadership is so key, because we need to look to others who are doing that so we can follow in their steps the way that they're doing it the right way. And, have that group, whether it's men talking with other men, women and men, like just have those people to look towards.
Well, and I think this is a perfect time to say that the travel agency community at large in the US and Canada, because that's where we focus, every single one of you that participated with your clients and booked and rebooked, every single one of you led the way to a stronger travel agency distribution channel. You were amazing. And I know that suppliers, as well as other segments in the industry, looked to the distribution channel because of your tenacity, your persistence, and your leadership. So you should all feel remarkable about the job that's still being done, and know that we are going to come out of this. With that, I just want, Dan, can you just take a look? I've been trying to look at the chat room. I don't really see questions. I see wonderful comments for our lady panelists, but I don't really see any questions other than how to join the Allies in Travel, which we will get into, and also how to view this session. If there are questions, if you would let me know. We're all open to them. We have about 10 more minutes, so I'd love to give each of you the floor for just 2 to 3 minutes to just end with any advice you'd like to give to your peers that are listening in. So I will start with Robin, please.
Sure. Thank you, Anne Marie. I would say, if you don't think you are a leader, you are. I think Samara touched on it. There are books, there are organizations, there is community for you. Find a mentor if you don't have one. Don't ever be afraid to ask a question. You can reach out to any of us. And I think, the other thing that was touched on a little bit, Jennifer, you just said the finances. I'm not a finance person, but I have, people that are, and, so making sure that you know your strengths and your weaknesses and surround yourself with the right people, because as a team, everybody's going to look better. Hats off to everybody who has made it through this year. It's been a tough year. It's been an emotional year. There's been some really scary times. It looks like there is light at the end of the tunnel. Reach out to us if there's anything that we can help you with, any questions. I want to say, ASTA does an amazing job, and TMR, you've done a fantastic job, making sure that people are not isolated in their home offices. The community that you have formed, through your webinar series have been amazing. And then also, my team last year did the Certified Travel Industry Executive Training through the Travel Institute, which was phenomenal. It goes off of the DISC personality test, and I learned a lot. I think we touched earlier, that your team, know their strengths and weaknesses, know they're not all going to work the same. And this series was phenomenal for me, to really look at my team and everything that, I wrote a white paper, and one of the things I said, I started it, is that there is no I in team, but that's not right. We were raised that way. There's absolutely individuals in a team, and those individuals and their strengths and what they bring to the table is needed, and that's what forms a team, is all of the individuality. So the leader knowing how to work with them.
Wow.
So.
Really interesting, Robin. Thank you for that. And thank you for mentioning ASTA and other organizations that are really helping. And thank you for comments about TMR. Samara?
I just want to echo what Robin said. She really said everything that was in my heart. So thank you, Robin, for articulating that. One thing I wanted to mention, and I've heard this quote by one of the guys I follow who is a big leadership guy, and he says one of the biggest myths is of leadership is you have to be in charge to be the leader. And I just want to leave this session empowering everyone to know that no matter where you are in life, that you are a leader and that you have the abilities. And it doesn't mean you have to lead 250 people or 1,000 people, but be confident in that. And I would encourage anyone, if they want to know what resources I use to start developing myself, they can reach out to me over social media, and I'll be happy to give those resources out.
Thank you, Samara. And I think you just gave Dan a great idea that perhaps we can have an article on leadership resources for our viewers, since this was such a popular, and maybe even some titles of books. So thank you for that. Kirsten, and then we'll end with Jennifer.
Yeah, the greatest advice I would have is really seek out that support group. There are a lot of different places that you can find support. If you do not have a mentor, I would find someone that you feel confident in being completely vulnerable with, that will shoot it to you straight. But either through your consortia, through ASTA, through a lot of different resources, find a support group that's the right group for you. It's important to surround yourself with other people that are in similar situations, either a similar role within the company or just like-minded business models.
And I think every leader would agree with you that you have to surround yourself from people that you can learn from. Thank you for that, Kirsten. Jennifer?
Well, I am just honored to
Having that peer.
I am just honored to have these ladies by my side, and I've been reading some of the comments in this chat, and you and me, Anne Marie, we talked a couple of months ago, and I just said I didn't think there was anything in this industry. I was like, hands up in the air. There's nothing in this industry that teaches us leadership. You said no, Jen. There are other places, and I couldn't find that. And I started to do, some research in Fortune 500 companies. It's the #1 sought after request is for leadership. So if you feel alone, you're not alone. The best thing I can say is reach out to even us. The allies.travel website is launched, and it's not just for women. We actually are going to have 3 different events this year. One for young leaders in travel. The female leaders in travel conclave will meet again, and we are growing smaller. We're not taking on doubling in size. And then we also are hoping to have a leadership symposium that is for men and women and for all of our brand partners and, resorts and cruise lines, because this is definitely something that has hit a nerve. And I do believe that coming out of COVID, it's a movement to follow the leaders, to become the leaders that have integrity and treat others with compassion and are trying to help our industry grow.
Well, thank you so much. I first want to thank all of our panelists. You lovely ladies are absolutely leaders that we can all aspire to be. And I think you've shared some great advice and wisdom with our viewers. I know that Jennifer, that you're going to have a lot of emails, and Dan, I believe, put up your site. So I think you're going to be getting a lot of emails for this group to all look at. I just want to thank you for your time and for your wisdom and for the ability that you have to share with your peers, which is all about collaboration. And that's what's going to get us through the next, 90 days, let's hope, till the vaccine is out. I also just want to mention, since you each brought it up, that, whether it be finance or other business skills, you all know travel. You got into travel because you're passionate about it and you love it. But sometimes we're weaker in the business operations. So I am going to give a commercial for a series that we started called the Travel Maestro series. I believe it's 2 for 1 right now. And we have accountants giving information, and we have over 50 videos with accounting, customer relationship management, finances, legal, social media. So that's another resource for you to look at, which is, I believe, only 2 for 1 right now. So rather than the $149, it's the $75. But that's the type of where there's videos from experts in the particular area that you can learn from. So other than that, Dan and I always want to hear from you at Travel Market Report. And on behalf of the entire team, thank you so much for a great panel. And I think we're going to have another one in 2022. Dan, did you want to add anything?
No, I want to thank everyone for joining me these last few months, and I want to thank everyone on the panel today. I really enjoyed it, and I think it was super valuable. But yeah, I hope to see everybody again in the new year.
Thank you, and happy holidays, everyone.